Thanks very much, Steve. Excellent, I must say. A very good and thorough demonstration of the RSM PeopleLog, and great to have you demonstrating it, you that's been so involved in its development and ongoing development. One of the questions, and thanks to all our listeners on the webinar, one question that's coming through here, there's a theme through all the questions, but one in particular it strikes me is, we're an organisation with 30 staff members. We have fairly good manual HR systems. A worry we have is about the implementation and what it would take, and is it more trouble than it's worth, basically. So can you give that listener any advice or as to how the PeopleLog would work in this circumstance for them?
Yeah, absolutely, and every client's implementation will vary, and really the key differentiator will be what they currently have. So if they do have processes in place, there will always be 3 stages to an implementation. The first is specification, and that specification takes the form of a meeting to work out with the client all of the options I've just mentioned, how they will be implemented, but then also to discuss what they've already got, because clearly for a system to work, there's going to be having to pull a load of data together, or pull the various data together. So that all requires to be put into spreadsheets. We can assist with that. We can we're not afraid to get our hands dirty and help with pulling that data together. But once all the data's in one place, then it gets imported into the system very easily. And the other key benefit with our implementation is that we then train the client on their populated system. So never will we implement a system which is blank and then they'll have to type it all in for them. We will work to get their data, to populate it to the system, and then train them on their live data.
So for the price that I mentioned at the beginning of the seminar, the from €3,000 setup, initial setup, once-off setup, all the data, and we work with the client in terms of getting all that onto the system.
Correct. So that includes the initial meeting to specify what data will be required, and then the production of the spreadsheets. So the blank spreadsheet template we provide to the client. The client then will pull all of that data together and pass it back. Included in that implementation fee is us then getting all that data into the system and configuring the system as per the original questionnaire. And then there will be a half a day on-site training to show the client how to use that system with their data already in it.
And another question I just see coming up here is there an annual cost associated with this over and beyond the per employee, the €4 per employee? Is there an annual cost?
Yeah, good question, and I'm glad to say the answer is no. The per employee is all-encompassing. So the per record cost includes everything that will be paid after the setup. Once the setup's been happened, that one-off cost is paid, then the fees are very transparent, just based on the number of employees at any given time.
One question coming through, can we load historical information?
Yeah, and the answer to that one comes back to the one around the main implementation. As we'll be providing templates for data, there's no restriction in how much data can be provided in those. So although there may only be 30 employees, if you want to go back 5 years of salary history or further, then each line within the spreadsheet that will be provided will have an effective date on it. It'll have a unique identifier, so at the staff number, and absolutely, that's a long way of saying yes. Okay,
thank you very much. Support. What support is available, and does it cost much?
There's really 2 things around support. There's the support around how do you use the system, and that will be a telephone advice line and stroke email line, UK business hours, so any queries are handled. To be honest, there aren't many queries because the system you would have seen is quite intuitive and self-explanatory. So users typically are more than comfortable with using their system. When they do have queries around it, it might be around, oh, I'm running a report, which field should I best use for this, or which field should I best use for this? The other area of support that a client might require, I would say, links more back to the HR team that you've got sat in Dublin. So in terms of if a client during implementation or further down the line has queries around how does their holiday, what are the holiday rules, which sickness rules should we be applying in the system to pay our employees, and they would come directly to the team in Dublin, and as you know, you're always at the end of the phone.
Okay, well, thank you very much. In terms of the payroll, a question here, how does the standard payroll report export, the one that you export to Excel, what does it look like?
Yeah, so two payroll options. If the payroll is being run by RSM, it's more of a straight-through link. So the team in Dublin, and I always push this one out there. There are a growing number of countries that we've worked with the in-house team to ensure that the RSM local provider on the ground just receives the data, runs the payroll, and it's all quite seamless. But the question specifically relating to the Excel format for other providers. Well, the key is in there. It will be Excel or CSV, and just as I was just showing in the report writer, the order of the fields is as per the client's requirements, or should I more accurately, it's as per the third-party payroll provider's requirements. They will typically say we need the data in this format. All we can say is we can provide all of that data in any Excel CSV format is required based on the user's time reporting, and then it's the third party's role to map that and import it into the payroll.
Very good. And just one more question, I think, that we've time for before we wrap up, and it's a practical question, I suppose, looking to learn from your experience. Can you give us an example of a client that this system has worked well for, and why?
Yeah, well, there are a number of them. So if I just sort of standardise the response, the client that it works, or should I say, gets the best bang for buck immediately is the client who is using spreadsheets at best for absence management, for example. So they've got a number of employees that's enough to become not a problem, but it's frequent questions and frequent administration. So as I say, 20 holidays per year or whatever to update that centrally, keep receiving an email. Not a day goes by when an employee isn't saying, can you update my address? I need to book a holiday. It's not just the booking of the holiday and approving them and updating them onto a spreadsheet, it's all the associated queries as well. So it's the managers asking how many days holiday does somebody have left, it's the employees themselves saying how many days have I got left or how many sickness days have I still got to be paid. So it's that type of client who doesn't have someone specifically in place to do a HR role. They're effectively an office manager or they're an administrative assistant to the owner of a business or the MD of a business, and they're doing all of this on top of their day job. So what we're really trying to do is save them a few hours per month, or hopefully a little bit more than that, but they're saving some hours per month to focus on their day job as opposed to dealing with the constant administration, which doesn't really stop around in this space. It's just continuous. On any given day, the holiday request, the changes to personal details, and that's before you get to the ones that are the managers increasing people's pay or changing terms and conditions and the normal hiring process. Okay,
well, very interesting. Well, it sounds like it saves a lot of time and it allows your HR manager, your people managers answer questions and use data effectively and really get on with probably dealing with more strategic matters. Well, thank you very much, Steve. You've been very good to bring us through all of that. I suppose any further questions from any of our listeners or future listeners, or if you have any questions, you can contact myself, Catherine Corcoran, and you'll see my email address there, or my colleague, Ciara Kiley, management consultant here in RSM Ireland as well. And Steve is at our back with all the very well and well-tested system, and thank you so much for demonstrating that too.